Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching your operational briefing for March 28, 2026, and today's picture is genuinely mixed in a way that deserves honest assessment. On the Zaporizhzhia front, Russian forces have been pushed back in Primorsk, with Russian sources confirming it themselves. Over 80% of the settlement is now under Ukrainian control, a real tactical setback that affects the broader Russian offensive plan toward Zaporizhzhia city. At the same time, elsewhere, the Russian side had a productive day. A 3-kilometer confirmed advance near Kostiantynivka. Over 600 meters in Belitske, the first verified ground advance in Lyman in 2 weeks. Prishine entering its final clearance phase. And on the Sloviansk direction, reports of Russian forces reaching the outskirts of Ryo-Alexandrivka, unconfirmed on camera, but the direction of travel is clear. A full breakdown of every sector with confirmed changes. Let us get into it. The past 24 hours have produced a number of confirmed changes along the line of contact across several directions simultaneously. Today's briefing covers exclusively the sectors where verified corrections have been recorded. A full walk of the entire line of contact will be conducted next week. Despite the absence of a single large-scale breakthrough, the cumulative picture of events across multiple directions simultaneously reflects a pattern of mounting Russian pressure along a broad front. Zaporizhzhia direction. Primorsk, Russian tactical withdrawal. On the Orikhiv sector of the Zaporizhzhia direction, the development of the Ukrainian counteroffensive has been confirmed by both sides, which in itself is an indicator of credibility. Ukrainian sources report offensive operations by Ukrainian forces toward Primorsk and Stepnohirsk. Russian sources, in turn, confirm that Russian forces were compelled to withdraw to more favorable positions in the vicinity of Kamianska and in the southern part of Stepnohirsk. A voluntary acknowledgement of withdrawal from the Russian side is rare, and it is precisely for this reason that this information warrants particular attention. According to available data, over 80% of Primorsk is currently under Ukrainian control. Ukrainian forces have entered the settlement and are conducting offensive operations. Confirmed footage fixing the precise internal line of demarcation within the settlement had not been received at the time of this briefing. Nevertheless, the fact of Ukrainian control over the greater part of Primorsk should be considered established on the basis of the totality of data received from both sides. This must be placed in operational context. Primorsk had long featured as a consolidated Russian position. The loss of control over the greater part of the settlement means that Russian plans for an offensive towards Zaporizhzhia city from the southwestern flank cannot be executed in their current configuration. The Ukrainian counteroffensive on this sector has achieved a tangible tactical result. The question is whether the Ukrainian side will be able to consolidate and develop it, or whether Russian forces will stabilize the situation on new lines. On the Huliapol direction, no cartographic changes. Russian forces continue pressure toward Voskresenivka and Verkhnya Tersa, engaging Ukrainian positions in the vicinity of and inside Huliapol itself. FPV drones are active on both sides along the entire line of contact. No advances recorded over the past 24 hours. On the Dnipropetrovsk direction, a number of video materials have arrived over the past 24 hours, allowing clarification of the actual line of demarcation on several sectors. From Andriivka and Danilivka, footage has been received documenting a Ukrainian drone strike against Russian positions in residential buildings. The fact of the strike confirms Russian force presence in Andriivka. Russian presence is also recorded in the vicinity of Ostapivske. Ukrainian assault group attempts to enter Herasimivka and Zarichne were unsuccessful. All groups were destroyed. The situation in Berezove requires clarification. 2 video materials arrived from this settlement. The first documents a Russian serviceman coming under Ukrainian fire, indicating Russian presence. The second documents a Russian strike against Ukrainian force positions in agricultural structures, confirming confident Ukrainian presence in Berezove. The resulting picture, both sides are present in this area. The settlement remains contested with stronger Ukrainian positions inside Berezove itself and Russian presence to the south of it. In Ternov, a previous Russian advance of 600 meters was recorded with a Russian flag confirmed in the center of the settlement. A large volume of reports is arriving from this sector, some of which are dated to different periods. Chronological filtering is difficult. Monitoring continues. Pokrovsk direction. Hryshyn, final phase. On the Pokrovsk direction, video material has been received from the northern part of Hryshyn over the past 24 hours. Russian units came under Ukrainian fire north of the settlement while advancing toward Vasilivka by 1 kilometer. All territory marked as occupied is today confirmed as being under full Russian control. The northwestern part of Hryshyn has in all likelihood also been cleared, confirming footage is expected within the next few days. In parallel with the clearance of Hryshyn itself, Russian forces are expanding their zone of control in two directions simultaneously, toward Novoalexandrivka and Vasilivka. This is operationally significant. Hryshyn consumed an enormous volume of resources and time. The fighting for it was prolonged and extremely costly. Now that the settlement has effectively been cleared, the operational tempo on this sector should increase. Next week will in all likelihood produce substantial map changes in this sector. In the Kotlino area, reports are arriving of Russian zone of control expansion north of the settlement towards Serhivka. The character of Russian movement creates a threat of operational encirclement of Ukrainian units in Kotlino should they fail to withdraw in time. The precise status of Kotlino at the time of this briefing remains uncertain, but the dynamics of the past 24 hours unambiguously point to its passage under Russian control in the near term. Dobropilya direction. Belitska, confirmed advance. On the Dobropilya direction, confirmed changes have been recorded at 2 points over the past 24 hours. In Belitska, 2 video materials have been received documenting a Russian advance of over 600 meters in the eastern part of the settlement, with the occupation of a number of new positions in residential buildings. All marked territory is confirmed as being under Russian control. Russian units entered Belitska from both the southern and eastern outskirts and are continuing to methodically push Ukrainian forces out of the settlement. If the pace of advance is maintained, Belitska may pass under full Russian control as early as next week. After that, Russian forces will in all likelihood proceed to straighten the front line along the supply road from Novyi Donbass in the north to Rodinsky in the south. This entire strip is expected to pass under Russian army control in the near term. At the mine west of Rodinsky, assault operations continue. Russian forces had, for an extended period, been unable not only to dislodge Ukrainian personnel from this facility, but even to approach it closely. The assault is continuing. The outcome remains undetermined. On the Kostiantynivka direction, confirming information has been received on a sector that had remained in uncertain status for several days. 2 video materials have arrived, from 2 separate points, documenting Russian force presence on this sector. On the basis of these materials, all marked territory between Ilinivka and Kostiantynivka is confirmed as being under full Russian control. The advance amounted to approximately 3 kilometers. This change has direct significance for the development of events inside Kostiantynivka itself. Control over the approaches to Ilinivka from this direction opens the possibility of systematic pressure against the multi-story residential districts of the city. Ukrainian forces lose maneuvering room on this flank. No other significant news from this direction has been received over the past 24 hours. Sloviansk direction. Kaleniki, Rye-Oleksandrivka. On the Sloviansk direction, the operational situation continues to develop along the logic outlined in previous briefings, though map changes are currently outpacing verified confirmations. Reports are arriving of a significant expansion of the Russian zone of control in the vicinity of Fedorivka Druha and Nikiforivka. Data is also arriving indicating that Russian forces have initiated fighting on the outskirts of Rye-Oleksandrivka, having either entered from the south from the direction of Lipivka or approached from the direction of Kaleniki. No verified footage confirming a consolidated foothold inside Rye-Oleksandrivka has been received at the time of this briefing. Map changes for this settlement will not be entered until documentary confirmation is received. From Kaleniki, reports are arriving of Russian zone of control expansion in the vicinity. It is highly probable that it is from this direction that Russian forces have approached Rye-Oleksandrivka, though the precise axis of entry has not yet been established. The operational significance of what is occurring on this sector is defined by the following. Oleksandrivka is the penultimate obstacle before Sloviansk. After its capture, the next barrier will be Mykolaiivka, beyond which a direct line of advance toward the city opens. Russian forces will have to overcome a fortified line along the Kazeny Torets River and the Siversky Donbass Canal. But the very fact of reaching Oleksandrivka indicates that the offensive tempo on this direction is being sustained. Krasnoliman direction. Lyman first confirmed advance in an extended period. On the Krasnoliman direction, a video material has arrived that warrants particular attention. Footage received from the Komunalny district of Lyman documents a Russian advance through the private residential sector of the city, with the occupation of new positions in residential buildings. The advance amounted to approximately 250 meters. This is the first verified video material from this direction in the past 2 weeks. Its appearance is significant for several reasons. First, it confirms that the intensive aviation and artillery strikes against Lyman reported over the preceding days have indeed created conditions for a ground advance. Second, it indicates that Russian command has transitioned to an active phase of fighting for the city, rather than simply attritioning it through fire. The operational context bears repeating. Lyman has been designated a priority objective, the capture of which must precede the development of the offensive toward Sloviansk. A frontal assault on Sloviansk would require enormous resources and would allow the opposing side to exploit a deeply echeloned prepared defense. An advance through Lyman into the rear of Sloviansk removes the need for a frontal assault and creates an encirclement threat. This is precisely why even a modest but confirmed advance in Lyman constitutes a strategically significant signal. Additionally, Russian force advances in the vicinity of Ozern and Dibrova have been recorded. Regarding the status of Yampil, the settlement is under Russian control, but is not in the deep rear. Ukrainian FPV drones reach this area, and characterizing it as a fully secure rear area position would be inaccurate. On the Borova direction, a sector that has received comparatively less attention recently, a Russian advance has been recorded east of Novoplatonivka. Russian units occupied a strongpoint east of this settlement, advancing up to 2 kilometers along the line of contact. The operational significance of this direction is defined by Borova's role as the key logistics node for the Ukrainian grouping on this sector. Should Russian forces reach and take Borova under control, Ukrainian units in this sector would be left without reliable supply. The sequential occupation of strongpoints east of Novoplatonivka is a step toward precisely this operational objective. Russian forces had previously reached the outskirts of Novoplatonivka, which was confirmed by corresponding video materials. On the Sumy direction in the areas of Pokrovka and Vysoke, reports of Russian zone of control expansion have been arriving for the 4th consecutive day. The dynamics are as follows. The day before yesterday, 1,200 meters, yesterday, 1,400 meters, today, approximately 1 kilometer. Aggregating these figures, the accumulated advance amounts to approximately 3.5 kilometers along the line of contact over 4 days. Verified footage allowing cartographic changes has still not been received. However, the consistency of the information stream from this area over 4 consecutive days constitutes a compelling indirect indicator of real movement on the ground. The character of the terrain, forest tracts west of Vysok, with a vector toward Krasnopilia, also explains the deficit of objective control footage. Combat operations in forested terrain are poorly suited to aerial documentation. Map changes will be entered as soon as verified materials are received. On the Kharkiv direction, the situation is analogous. Reports of improved positions are arriving, but without documentary confirmation. March 28 did not produce a single dramatic turning point, but recorded consistent pressure across a broad front with specific confirmed results on several directions simultaneously. The key changes of the day. On the Zaporizhzhia direction, Ukrainian forces confirmed control over the greater part of Primorsk, compelling a Russian withdrawal, a tactical success for Ukrainian forces requiring corresponding map correction. On the Kostiantynivka direction, a 3-kilometer Russian advance on the sector between Ilyanivka and Kostiantynivka has been confirmed. On the Dobropilia direction, Russian forces advanced over 600 meters in Belitska with confirmed footage. On the Krasnoliman direction, the first verified advance in 2 weeks has been recorded in Lyman, 250 meters in the Komunalny district. On the Pokrovsk direction, the clearance of Hryshine is concluding as an advance toward Vasilivka and Novoalexandrivka develops. On the Borova and Sumy directions, the sequential accumulation of tactical gains continues without large single-step changes. The overall vector of the day, methodical, multi-point Russian pressure alongside a simultaneous tactical success by the Ukrainian side on the Zaporizhzhia flank. This is a confrontation of two opposing trends, the outcome of which will become clearer next week as verified data accumulates and the situation clarifies at the key focal points. Rai Oleksandrivka, Lyman, Kotlino, and Primorske. Briefing compiled as of March 28, 2026. A full walk of the line of contact is planned for the start of next week. A number of positions require clarification as verified materials continue to come in.